Okay, what are the rest of you doing here? So, this particular topic, navigating through distractions, the whole talk is not going to be focused upon that. There are 3 or 4 things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Mainly, मेरे ज़हन में जो बातें आ रही थी, I'm going to switch with your permission, please, inshallah. But mainly the things that I wanted to talk about are those things that I wish somebody told me in my first week at LUMS. So that's how I prepared for this talk. What do I wish I knew when I had just stepped into this campus a long time ago. So many of you guys are not freshmen, but these things apply to the start of a new semester, to the start of a new chapter, to the start of a new academic year, almost equally well. So whenever we have a new phase in our life starting, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's some amount of anxiety, there's excitement, there's looking forward to some things, there's dreading some things. And that sort of, humans like to be sure about what's going on and what's going to go on, right? So we don't like change. But the world is changing all around us all the time. Din raat badal rahi hai, halat badal rahe hain. And that's just the way the things are. تِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that these are the days and we change them the day and night and the situations of people. So what I want to start off by saying, anybody here who's not a student, by the way, or an alumni, somebody who's a staff member or something. Alright, so everybody is either a LUMS student or has been at some point a LUMS student. Alright. So the first thing that I want to tell you, something that I try to tell every class that I teach as well, and I try to tell in the talks that I give in the masjid as well, is that you guys are a unique, privileged sort of slice of the people of this country. You are the elite of this country. And that's not to sort of make your heads big by thinking about yourself as great. That's just the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed it to be. That He put you in such a situation that you're here today. Alright, that's because partly of your intelligence, that's because partly of your parents' efforts on you, and it's partly by chance as well. There are many people who are smarter than you, let me guarantee you, who are working as coolies, who are working as T-boys, who are stitching clothes with their mother at their home, and do not have or have not had access to the opportunities that you have had in terms of education, in terms of exposure, in terms of everything that has led to this point that has got you here today. So the first thing that I want to say is that you should recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you and gifted you with much more than most in this country. And you should be thankful for that. A lot of times we sort of get used to what we already have, and then we start thinking of that as our status quo and measuring our success or our failure with respect to that status quo. But look at the status quo of the average of this country, and you guys are in a much better condition, much better shape, alright? And in a much better position to impact the lives of people, alright? You are the people who are going to be future engineers, you are the people who are going to be future CEOs, you are the people who are going to be future entrepreneurs. So the first piece of advice that I have for all of you is that when you're studying here, think of more than yourself. Think of more than your career, think of more than the money that you're going to make, think of more than the job you're going to have. Think bigger. Think about this country, think about this ummah, think about how you can be beneficial to the world. I had a conversation with a relative of mine, and I was telling her, you know, she works in Nestle as an HR manager or something. So I was sort of teasing her, you know, that I don't see the point in working for these big multinational companies and making them more money so they can oppress the common man even more. So her answer actually surprised me a lot, and it actually opened my mind. She said, you know, the way I look at it, I hire people who are deserving to be hired, and I am the means of them getting their jobs, and I am the means of them making a career. So I started thinking about it, that yes, if that's the way you think about it, rather than I'm earning my own paycheck, that I'm helping people, that if you're at any position in a company, you're creating jobs for people, you're creating GDP for this country. So that's the kind of niyat that you should have when you're studying at LUMS. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, don't let this get to your head. This Luminite brand. People are so proud of being Luminite. Yes, you can be proud of it in some sense, but don't let it become a point of arrogance. Alright? Because I've seen a lot of Luminites who have so much pride and so much arrogance about being Luminites that anybody less than a Luminite they can't look at straight. So don't do that. If you do that, then when you leave this campus after 4 years, or if you're doing a PhD then 10 years, then aap padhe likhe jahil rahe. Everything you would have learned is useless as far as I'm concerned if it doesn't teach you humility, if it doesn't teach you sincerity, if it doesn't teach you to look those who are less fortunate than you or of a less socioeconomic status than you as equals. So the day you start giving the ayah who cleans your hostels and the MBM staff who clean your washrooms and the Mali who cuts your grass at LUMS the same respect and the same status as your dean and your professors, that's the day, in my opinion, where your education has any worth and has any value. So, yes, my job, my career, my progression, that's a great niyat to have. Husool rizq halal ibadat hai. You see that on every single banknote that you have in Pakistan. But, there's so many more intentions that you can make that can make your time here much more valuable in the sight of Allah. One niyat that you can make, all of you, is that you please your parents by doing what they have asked you to do. At this point in your life, most of you are single, most of you are not required to support your parents financially. So the only requirement they have from you, apart from being nice to them, is that you study well, and you study sincerely, and you work hard, and you get good grades, and so on and so forth. They have aspirations and hopes that are attached to you. So for that purpose, with that intention, if you study, then every single minute that you spend studying is written as ibadat, inshallah. So have that niyat. Have this niyat that, if it so happens that my education allows me to get a job where I earn more than I need, I will give in charity, I will help people. I will fund the masajid, I will fund the food banks, I will help widows get on their feet, I will help orphans get on their feet. So that's something to strive for. And before I start talking about studies and how to balance them and how to study tips is something that I'm going to talk about as well, because that's something that people generally ask about. Oh sir, I'm so So let me sort of clear that up once and for all, because I don't want to have to do it in every class that I teach. So I'll give you guys some study tips as well. But before I start with the study tips, I want to make one thing very clear. Unfortunately, in our country, in our ummah, really, it's become the norm, more than just accepted, it's become the norm to be insincere and to be deceitful about your studies, to cheat. And the best we can do as instructors is, tell you, don't cheat, and also try to reduce the avenues and the means that you have of cheating. But really, at the end of the day, there's no foolproof system. There's no 100% success rate in stopping people from doing things that they're not supposed to do during their studies. So please, as a sort of, don't degrade yourself to that extent that you throw away your akhirat and you throw away what you can get for the sake of a few marks. Because ghate ka sauda, it's a very, very bad trade to make. That you throw away your integrity, that you throw away your morality, that you throw away your sincerity for the sake of a few marks. If you don't get something, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't cheat to do it. Don't cheat in exams. Don't cheat in assignments. Don't cheat in labs. Don't cheat in quizzes. Because if you do, you sort of, ek to uska dunyavi nuksan to hai that you're not getting the material well, but essentially aap dusre ka haq maar rahe ho. Because it's somebody else's right to those marks. You don't deserve them. You're taking more than you deserve. You're taking something that you don't deserve. And one of the definitions really of zulm, one of the definitions of zulm is that you take something that's not yours to take. And that really taints your entire life going forward. Arif Zaman Saab, professor here at LUMS, one of my role models, he explained it like this, that you get a few more marks by cheating. That gets you one bump in your grade, maybe a B plus to an A minus. That gets you a tiny bump in your GPA. That might get you noticed by an employer who ignored somebody else who worked fairly. That might get you your first job. That might get you all your subsequent jobs. The entire life earning might be tainted with haram because of a few marks that you got by cheating. So please, that's a sort of disclaimer at the start, because I just feel that that's an epidemic that really is a great tragedy that we're facing in our academic institutions, not just in Pakistan, but in the rest of the world as well. So, navigating through distractions. Or rather, managing your time, managing your studies. A few tips from my own experience, from what I've seen with my students and others as well. First of all, especially for freshmen, the others already know this, but when you enter into a semester system based course of study, you can't any longer get away with just cramming at the time of your exams. Alright, so when you were in your FSC or in your A level, your whole grade is based on just that one exam that you're giving at the end of the day. You can study for it the last whole month and do nothing the rest of the whole year and still get away with it. You can't do that here because there's a continuous assessment. And that continuous assessment ensures that those who are serious about their studies, they are rewarded for that. So make sure that you're on top of whatever coursework, whatever content you're covering as you go along. Don't leave things till the end. That's the single most important piece of advice I'd give freshmen in terms of adapting from a purely exam-based system to a semester-based system of study. One other thing that I'd like to suggest is skim over the material that you're going to cover in the next class right before the class. So last 15 minutes before the class, or maybe the night before the class, or maybe a couple of hours before the class, just take 15 minutes to skim over, just glance over whatever you think the teacher is going to teach in the next class. Sometimes teachers will upload stuff that they're going to teach. Sometimes they'll tell you what they're going to teach. Sometimes they follow the course outline pretty strictly, so you already know what the readings are. But do skim over the material that's going to be covered, because then when you come into the class, you're not sort of going on a complete blank. You have a sort of framework, a skeleton, a base structure in which you're filling in. You're sort of coloring in rather than drawing the outlines, and that really helps, in my experience, with internalizing and understanding the concepts that are being taught in that lecture. One other thing that I always tell people, sit in front of the class. All right, so it's very tempting to sit at the back and slack off and be on your phone and Facebook and Snapchat and whatever and go to sleep. But there's a world of a difference from my own experience between sitting right in front, where the instructor can see you and see that whether you're sleeping or not, and sitting at the back. All right, so I'd actually like, if somebody's interested, we can do a sort of a study that looks for correlation between the position that people sit in class and their overall GPA or their grades. If somebody can, if somebody's willing to take that up, that's a research project that I'd happily supervise. We can do some surveys in LUMS and look at where people generally sit and, put some line of best fit and see whether my theory is correct and it actually has an impact. I'm pretty sure that it has a significant impact. Don't sit with your friends in class, all right? So if your best buddy is sitting with you, हर वक्त जो है बस उसके साथ गपशप ही लगा रहे हैं. So sit with complete strangers. Sit with that person that you don't like, because then you won't be interacting with them. You'll be listening to the lecture. A lot of time, what I see is that just paying attention in class can make a huge difference without putting in any extra time whatsoever. You're already there. You dragged your butt out of your bed to come into class. So why not pay attention and make the most of the time that you're spending? When I was a student in my final year, I suppose, I did a rough sort of handkerchief calculation. Each class that you take, on average, at LUMS as an undergraduate, costs your parent 4,000 rupees. Each 1 hour lecture that you take. I'm not sure looking at my face for an hour is worth 4,000 rupees, but that's what you pay when you're in my CS 100 class, or in my 501 class. Who's in my 501 class? There's a couple, yeah. So that's what you're paying. So if you're paying it, or your parents are paying it, at least try to make it worth it, right? One other thing, if there is any material that is available in terms of the content that the instructor is going to cover, maybe some slides or maybe some notes, or maybe the instructor has told you which chapters of the book they're going to cover. So my suggestion would be to print that out, to bring that into class and make your notes on that. So that way you won't be making all the notes from scratch that are already available somewhere else. And yet, so some people, they make complete notes from scratch. That's fine if writing down helps you internalize it. But sometimes what happens is that you're so caught up in writing down what's going on that you aren't able to concentrate on understanding what's going on. So my own personal suggestion is that you can print out any notes or any slides or any material that the instructor has given and make notes on that. The other extreme is what people do, okay, well, the instructor is going to upload this, so I don't need to make notes at all. In that case, you lose out on important points sometimes. So best of both worlds option is what I just suggested. when you're studying, when you're revising, especially closer to your exams or when you're preparing to do an assignment or whatever, tackle those topics, those subjects, those courses that you struggle with first, all right? So don't leave them till the end. Some people have this habit of, I don't like differential equations, so let's just leave them way till the end and I'll think about them really the night before the exam. That's clearly a suboptimal strategy to use. The things that you struggle with are the ones that require most of your time. So tackle them first. If you are unable to do them, then sort of to help your morale move on to something slightly easier, but don't sort of pop out right at the beginning. Start off with what you think is going to take up more of your time and attention. One other study tip, it's very interesting though, as time goes on and science advances, you see scientific theories really converging, alhamdulillah, with the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. And one of those teachings is early to bed, early to rise, and the rest. So there are studies now, academic studies in universities that show that the amount of sleep that you get isn't uniformly beneficial at all times of the day. Sleep that you get when the sun is down is actually more beneficial, more resting for your body than sleep that you get like at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. So my advice would be, and I hope I get the tawfiq to follow it myself, is that you should sleep early, wake up early and study in the morning. Study in the morning, and if possible, if your schedule allows, take a nap in the afternoon. So I have an 8 a.m. class this semester, so I brought my bed into my office and then I go to sleep after the class. So try to do something like that if you can. If you're a hostelite, easy enough for you. If you're not, grab a hostelite skis and take a nap before or after Zuhr sometime. One other thing, especially for freshmen, but some of you who still sort of haven't gotten your head around this concept after some time at LUMS, is that there is help available when you don't understand concepts, alright? So you don't have to sort of struggle alone. One difference with a sort of exam-based system is that the person who's grading you is the same person that's teaching you, right? So in your FSCs or in your A-levels, your instructor or your teacher is not the one who's going to be marking your exam. We instructors, I'll give you an inside sort of secret, I don't know whether all of them sort of follow this, but we see who's coming to office hours, we see who's making effort, we see who's attending classes, we see who's asking questions, and we're more helpful towards them because it has to be reciprocal, right? So I'm not saying we'll give them more marks because we shouldn't and we can't, but in general we'll have a softer attitude, a nicer attitude, and we'll try to help them as much as we can because we see the effort coming in. So effort that you make in terms of asking questions is very important. You should never be shy about asking your instructor about anything that you don't understand. मैं अक्सर ये मिसाल देता हूँ कि लम्स वाले जो है जहाँ हया करनी होती है वहाँ कोई हया नहीं आती और हया याद कहाँ आती है हाँ हया यहाँ I'll translate that for you later. So हया याद कहाँ आती है जहाँ इंस्ट्रक्टर से मामला. So ask, please, for God's sake, there are TAs available, there are lab instructors available, there's all sorts of help available, and most of the time TAs are just sitting in their office hours and nobody shows up, and then at the end people come crying, sir, मैं अगर फेल हो गया तो मेरे अब्बू के 50 लाख रुपए जो हैं वो ज़ाया हो जाएंगे, और सर मेरी अम्मी मुझे मार डालेंगी, और सर मेरी मंगेतर मुझे छोड़ देगी, और पता नहीं क्या लोगों को मसले हो जाते हैं. So please don't leave things until it's too late to fix them. Don't leave things till the dead week of the semester. Get to grips with anything and everything that you have trouble with by going to office hours, attending tutorials, asking instructors, seek help. Generally, people are much more than willing to help you. So with respect to navigating through distractions, some people have this attitude towards university study that your courses, your grades, your GPA is all that matters and everything else is a distraction. So coming from me, this might seem sort of hypocritical advice, but that's not true. There's a lot more to learn, there's a lot more to experience, there's a lot more to gain at university, and especially at LUMS, than just your courses and just your GPA. Alright, so I'll give you a couple of examples, people who I know myself. How many of you have heard of this website called Find My Adventure? Alright, just a few. So there's a batchmate of mine, Kumel, and he went on a last trip with me at the end of his freshman year. And he liked it so much that he joined last. He went on another trip the next year as a team manager or something. He went up and he joined the board of LAS or whatever you have, and eventually he was the president. And when he graduated, he found a high-paying job in a bank, and 9 to 5, superb salary. Everybody, oh, shabak, mashallah, aapko naukri mil gayi. Before he had graduated, Standard Chartered had made him an offer. Few months down the road, he realized, this is not what I want to do. He quit, and he started a travel company. So now it's the premium and fastest growing adventure travel company in Pakistan, has a wonderful website, has wonderful clientele from abroad, and not only makes more money than he did at Standard Chartered, but is also living his own dream. And where did he learn the tools required to do that? Not his classes, not his GPA, his time in LAS, all right, and his trips up north. Similarly, how many of you have heard of Marutandu? Much more. There we go. Foodies. So Marutandu is founded by another friend of mine, or rather a bunch of friends of mine. And again, it's not the courses. It's a wildly successful enterprise, the first of its kind, and has been ripped off by these other Mr. Nan or whatever they are. But the fact of the matter is that he followed a dream that he had. He learned the skills required from his extracurricular social activities at LUMS, and he's using them to good effect in his career now. So there's another friend of mine who was with me in sci-fi, and he was in the logistics team. And he learned so much across the course of that he founded his own event management company, arranging things like weddings and stuff like that. So there's no one predetermined path to quote-unquote success at LUMS. Your worth as a person definitely is not measured by your GPA. Even your worth as a professional, in my opinion, is not just measured by your GPA. Some people make this mistake. बहुत ज़्यादा किताबी कीड़े बन जाते हैं. They sort of stick to the box that the instructor has defined. This is your course. Sir, ये exam में तो नहीं आएगा तो भाड़ में जाए. No, that's not the attitude that you should have. Yes, 2 days before the exam, that's the attitude that you should have. But the rest of the time, you should be looking at anything and everything that you can learn. So Wikipedia is your friend, Google is your friend, Coursera is your friend, OCW is your friend, Khan Academy is your friend. Look up anything that you're interested in. Take courses that are completely unrelated to your major. Study philosophy and psychology and law and whatever you want to study, just to get a feel of how things work differently to the area of your supposed interest. Because many times, you will find areas that are more interesting to you. All right. So we have people here at LUMS who started off doing something like ACF, and went down the road and said, mathematics interests me more. Got a PhD in math, teaching in the maths department. All right. So career paths are not linear. That's the other thing that I want to tell you. Many of you think at this stage in your lives that choosing your major is the biggest decision and the most sort of immovable decision of your life. That's absolutely not the case. If you're willing to learn and you're interested in something, you can learn on your own. And the world is, alhamdulillah, evolving in such a way that you have much more flexibility in terms of soft skills that you've required and in terms of non-accredited skills that you've required that will help you change what you want to do in the future. And so, one other thing, so this is sort of just like a hodgepodge of different pieces of advice that I thought I could use when I joined. People take, it's related to this whole GPA being the be-all and all of your life, is that people take too much stress behind their studies, too much stress. इतना कि नींदें हराम हो जाती हैं, खाना हराम हो जाता है, अल्लाह माफ़ करे शावर लेना हराम हो जाता है. So don't make your studies and don't make your GPA the be-all and end-all of your life. Don't take so much stress. There's very, very, very few things in the world that are worth stressing about to the extent that you ruin your physical and mental health because of them. All right. All right. So please, अगर किसी भी किस्म की परेशानी है, you have any anxiety, stress, depression, tension, there are resources available at LUMS. That's the other thing, that we have a stigma in our society against mental welfare issues. I wouldn't say necessarily mental health or mental illness, because again that creates a stigma. So mental welfare, being happy. So people will ask you, what's your job, what's your GPA, what's your career, what's your major. People won't ask you, are you happy or not, alright? And that's the main metric. Apart from, is God happy with you? The second most important metric in my opinion is, are you happy? Are you happy or not? And if you're not happy, take steps to correct that. When you're not well, you take steps to correct that. You go to the doctor, you get a Panadol or a Tylenol or Entox or whatever you need for that particular illness. So why don't you do the same thing when you're unhappy? Go ask somebody what to do. There's counselors available at LUMS. If you don't like the counselors, ask your seniors, talk to your friends, talk to your parents, talk to your siblings, talk to somebody. Don't keep things bottled up inside you, because it'll eat out. It'll eat you out from inside. So that's one thing that I want to share. My own personal experience is that just talking to somebody who tells you nothing that you didn't know previously can lighten your load immediately and immensely. So please reach out. There are faculty members who are more than willing to help you. You can tell who cares, and you can reach out to those people. So please, anything that you're struggling with, whether your parents are ill, or your parents are putting some undue pressure on you, or whether you're suffering because of your grades, or because you're suffering because a friend passed away or something, talk to somebody about it. All right, seek some help about it. Don't sort of isolate yourself. Don't sort of make your problems bigger than they need to be. So some people actually think that this means a lack of trust in Allah. कि मैं अगर किसी और के सामने अपने परेशानियों का इजहार करूं, तो इसका मतलब है कि अल्लाह पे तवक्कुल नहीं कर रहा या कर रही. So that's a completely wrong way of thinking as well. That's literally the equivalent of saying that if I'm unwell, I shouldn't take medicine. I should just sit in the masjid and make dua. No, that's not tawakkul. Tawakkul, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you trust in Allah, but you tie the camel first. You don't let the camel roam around without tying it and then say, "Nahi, bas Allah Taala bajake rakhega." Because the camel is a camel. Its fitrat is that it's going to roam. So you need to take whatever means are available to you, whatever resources are available to you, whatever asbab are available to you, and then you trust in Allah. Yes, you make dua first. Like you make dua, whatever resources I'm going to take, Ya Allah, they're going to be useful only by your permission and by your command. So that's why I'm taking these resources, because you have commanded me that dunya is darul asbab, I need to take resources. And then you take those resources and then you trust in Allah. Because once you do that, once you've made your dua, and once you've made your private conversation with Allah, once you've made Him your confidant, once you've made Him your trustee, then whatever happens, it's in His hand, and He knows best for us, and He loves us more than 70 times what our mother loves us. So, things are made unnecessarily hard by not having the right attitude towards them. And one aspect of that is, one aspect of time management, as well as study management, as well as sort of emotions management, is, ये बात आप लोग तहकीक करके खुद ही देख लेना. अल्लाह ताला ने कुरान में फरमाया ना, ये बात 100% हक है कि अला बिज़िक्रिल्लाहि तत्मइन्नुल क़ुलूब, that indeed in the remembrance of Allah, surely, definitely, undoubtedly, in the remembrance of Allah, do the spiritual hearts find rest. Qalb ka sukoon Allah Taala ki yaad mein hai. Your body finds rest through sleep. Your body finds enjoyment through food. You find enjoyment through sports, physical activity. Your mind finds enjoyment through stimulating mental activity. Your brain finds enjoyment through jokes. But your heart is only going to find ease and contentment and peace and rest and bliss and solace in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the easiest and the most important way of doing that is your prayers 5 times a day. So, जो बंदा 5 दफा अल्लाह ताला के सामने सर झुका लेना, उसको फिर कोई चीज़ परेशान नहीं कर सकती. Nothing can worry you then, because I'm in good hands. I'm in good hands. If an instructor tells you, don't worry, I'll get you enrolled in that course that you need to graduate and that you aren't getting, and the wait list is full and so on, the instructor tells you, don't worry, I'll guarantee I'll get it done. You don't worry after that, because that's a person in position of authority, and you trust them to get the job done. Allah Ta'ala is ever willing to help. Allah Ta'ala is ever willing to help even those who never come to Him except when they need His help. Allah Ta'ala is very, 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 very Rahim and Kareem. So, put your head down in front of Him and ask Him and have private conversations with Him. That's another thing that's missing from even the so-called religious people out of us, is that we go through things like clockwork. We go through things like in a transactional sort of way. We need to reopen that chapter of a personal Ab-Rab Taluk, a personal, intimate, unique, one-to-one connection with Allah Ta'ala. So make dua in your own language, make dua in your own words, make dua as if you're talking to somebody, as if you're sharing your problems with somebody, as if you're sort of explaining your situation to somebody. I would highly recommend just Google up translation of the dua that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made on his way back from Taif. When he went with such high hopes after his own people had dejected him and rejected him, he went and walked a very, very long walk, and what they did was they pelted him with stones until his shoes were full of blood, and they ran him out of the city. And in that situation, the dua that he made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just read the translation of that. Read the translation and see how he puts forth his feelings and his emotions, and he has a conversation with his Rabb. That's one of the most beautiful duas you can find, and you find solace in that. And that's the way to make a connection with your Rabb in terms of difficulty. So, if you try to make namaz the pillar of your day, 5 pillars of Islam, 5 pillars of your day, that's your 5 prayers. If they are the immovable, foundations on which your day and your time is structured, then things will be much easier for you to organize as well. People have all sorts of extremely lame and useless excuses for missing their namaz. मैं फ्रेंड्स के साथ बैठा हुआ था, मैं स्पोर्ट्स खेल रहा था, मैं सो रहा था, मैं पढ़ रहा था, मैं ये कर रहा था, मैं वो कर रहा था, I couldn't get up because of X, Y, Z. You're kidding yourself, because the reality of the matter is that when something is important for you, you make time. There's no doubt about that. If you have a flight at 6 p.m., your friends don't matter, your studies don't matter, your sports don't matter. You get there. You get to the airport. By hook or by crook, by any means, you get there. So if you have your Maghrib at 6:30, just get there. Don't let any excuses sort of get you down, because you're kidding yourself. There are no don't have time. There's only isn't on my priority list. All right. So make priority, and Allah Ta'ala will make things easy for you, inshallah. And people make their studies an excuse. This is like the biggest sort of joke that you can play with yourself. कि मेरे पास नमाज पढ़ने का टाइम नहीं है क्योंकि मैं पढ़ाई में बहुत मसरूफ हूँ. Allahu Akbar. So that पढ़ाई में बहुत मसरूफ होना doesn't stop you from sitting outside of PDC and lounging about with your friends looking at cats for a couple of hours. That doesn't stop you from playing Fortnite and whatever else you guys play, computer games. That doesn't stop you from watching season after season of, मैं तो Breaking Bad कहूँगा मगर आप लोग आजकल पता नहीं क्या देखते हैं. But you see, the 10 minutes you spend in making wuzu and praying 4 rakat are not what is going to tank your grade. I swear to you, it's not going to tank your grade. The time that you spend on social media looking at everybody's pictures on Facebook and wondering कि यार ये इतना खुश है मैं इतना खुश क्यों नहीं हूँ, that's what's going to tank your grade. All right. One other thing that's sort of peripherally related to this: don't get caught up in this social media game and competition of who can seem the happiest. All right, because everybody is just pretending. 100% guarantee. Each of you is thinking right now, yeah, that's true about me. So it's true about everyone. I'm telling you, 100%. The highlights reel of somebody else's life, you start comparing it to the whole movie of your life, and then you start thinking, mine isn't as exciting as that. वो नीलम वैली गया हुआ था यार पार्टी करने के लिए, वो तो जॉयलैंड से होकर आया, वो हार्डीज का बर्गर खा कर आया, उसने जिस दिन दाल चावल खाए पीडीसी में उसकी तस्वीर नहीं लगाता हूँ. So please, the moment you start putting up your mundane, everyday, useless things on Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and Twitter से तो वैसे ही just the fact that Trump is there उससे Twitter से पनाह मांग लेनी चाहिए बंदे को. But that's not a fair comparison. So you're sort of making yourself unhappy without any reason. I had this habit, you're going to call me a nerd, but I had this habit of deactivating my Facebook whenever the exams were close. And one time, about the 3rd or 4th time I did it, I realized, actually, when the exams ended, I realized, actually, I'm happier without this thing. I'm happier without this thing. And then I started thinking, why am I happier without this thing? And then once there was like a beautiful sunset or something, and I wanted to take a picture of it, and I'm thinking, why am I taking this picture? And then I started analyzing my motives. It's so that I can put it up and get likes and get validation from people who don't care about me and I don't care about them. So that's a stupid and useless sort of activity to get into. Yes, use social media to connect with your friends, to talk with your friends, to keep in touch with whatever people are doing, what's going on in the lives of people that matter to you. But don't get caught up in posting and getting your fix through these likes and comments and whatever, upvotes or whatever. So, like I was saying before, sort of taking this detour, how do you manage your time? It's very easy. There's a golden rule. So I'm going to tell you the secret. And the secret is, Deen does not touch the time that you use productively for dunya. Deen does not touch that. आपसे मुतालबा नहीं है कि आप अपनी पढ़ाई का नुकसान करके मस्जिद को टाइम दें, दीन को टाइम दें, कुरान को टाइम दें, and so on and so forth. आपसे मुतालबा ये है Okay, the things that don't benefit you in the dunya or in your deen, minimize those. Cut those out. That's the time that's killing you. That's the time that's causing you to not be able to fulfill all your responsibilities. That's the time that's going into this gaming and this social media and this lounging around and so on and so forth. That's the time that you can eliminate without having any negative effect on your dunya, and then therefore leaving more time for a positive effect on both your studies and your deen. And that doesn't mean, so some people take this to the extreme and think मौलवी बड़े सख्त हैं, ये कहते हैं हराम से भी बचो और जो इसके अलावा जो है ना जो जायज़ चीज़ है उससे भी बचो. So no, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that from a purely sort of practical point of view, if I tell you that I'm going to do a business and I'm going to spend time in it and invest effort in it and sweat for it, and it's going to get me no profit and no loss, you're going to tell me that's a stupid business to do, right? If you don't have profit coming out of it in some way or the other, whether that's through experience or whether that's through fulfillment or something, then that's a useless business to get into. So that's exactly what we do. We sort of kid ourselves, one more level of the game and one more sort of round of Facebook and one more sort of smoke break sitting outside of PDC, and those things really are what kills us in terms of our ability to manage our time. So there is space for entertainment, there is space for downtime, there is space for all these things in me. There is space for halal entertainment, alright? That being the key word. And you can interpret that however you wish to, but your downtime and your relaxation time and your sleeping in on the weekends, that has to be limited. There has to be some limit to that. And the rest of that time, you should give some of it to your deen, and you give some of it to your dunya, and you'll excel in both, without losing out on either of those things. One sort of very famous you have this Venn diagram in which you have studies, social life, and sleep. And the claim is that there is no sort of intersection between all three of them. I'd like to add a fourth one there, and that's wasted time. And if you eliminate that, then I guarantee you that there is an intersection between all three of them. So that's really my main takeaway in terms of time management. One other thing that I'd like to one aspect that I'd like to touch, I don't know whether it's here, yeah, so social life is here in there somewhere. One thing that people often feel, so LUMS, like every place, every institution, every location has its own culture, has its own social norms, has its own social structure, and oftentimes people feel a pressure to sort of fit in, alright, to sort of be like everybody else. And you feel that more here because खास तौर पे अगर आप बुरे वाला से NOP पे आते हो तो आप लोग हाँ यार ये तो अंग्रेजी भी बड़ी टाइट बोलता है और ये ऐसे ऐसे महंगे महंगे कपड़े और महंगा महंगा फोन पकड़ के फिर रहा है. So you feel out of place, alright. Or if you come in from abroad and you're feeling this is a very different environment from what I'm used to. Or if you come in from an all-boys school and suddenly you come to LUMS and you're right. So I literally Kari Saab jo LUMS ke Mozin hai, he told me about this father who was here in O week, and he was sitting in PDC and he asked Kari Saab मैंने लगता है मैं बड़ी गलती की थी अपनी बेटी ने. So कहते हैं Kari Saab said he was literally holding his ears. So what I'm trying to say is that yes, every place has its social norms and every place has its own environment, and every environment has good and bad in it, alright? So there is no environment that is fully good, there is no environment that is fully bad. I would argue that even the super strict, ultra-orthodox environment that you have in Saudi Arabia, for example, has its negative points. And the super liberal, ultra-California style environment that you have in Silicon Valley, or you have in LA, or you have in Miami, that has its positive points as well. So you take the positives from everything that you can get and you leave the negatives. What does that mean? You hold on to your values. You hold on to your values and you don't try to fit in where your values are compromised. Alright. In this campus, and especially as a student, and I can testify on behalf of myself as well as dozens and literally dozens and dozens of people that I know who have graduated before me, after me, far better than me, that you don't need to cater to this. I need to fit in at all costs and I need to be like everybody else. As a student, your interaction is with who you want to interact with. Your role models are who you want to make role models. Your way of life is what you want to make your way of life. Nobody can tell you otherwise, nobody can force you otherwise, and you shouldn't therefore feel pressurized to do otherwise. Alright? You should be absolutely open to your views maturing and changing and shifting over time. Yes. But that doesn't mean that that should be because of any external social pressure. Alright? Trust me, you will find friends who like you for who you are, and they will be better than the friends that you will find if you try to just fit into their social circle. Alright? So don't worry about this whole I'm not hanging with the cool kids, and that guy has a Prado ki watch and that girl has a Gucci ka handbag and whatever. Those things are completely superficial. They don't matter at all. So dress the way you want to dress, act the way you want to act, go where you want to go, and don't let anybody or anything pressure you otherwise. The good thing about this campus is that nobody will explicitly tell you otherwise. There are some societies in which acting a certain way or trying to be the way you are will lead to actual, tangible, verbal and written pressure. Alright? Here you're free to do what you want to do. आप ऐसे कोई मुझे कह दे किसी भी वक्त किसी ने आपको sort of literally रोका हो किसी भी काम करने से इस campus में, as long as you're not breaking any rules or anything, right? So the answer is no. So don't feel undue pressure where there is none. All right. So that's one thing in terms of your social life. One other thing that I'd highly emphasize, and in the context of this being an LRS talk, is that you should look for company and look for friends who you think are better than you. Alright, that doesn't mean better than you in terms of their phone is better than you, or their car is better than you, or their clothes are better than you, or their GPA is better than you. You can do that if you want, but look for friends who are spiritually, in your opinion, whatever sort of metric that you have, better than you. Because they are those friends who will truly drag you up. They are those friends who will help you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dosti ki jagah dosti bhi hai, और Allah ta'ala की जगह Allah ta'ala भी मिलेंगे आपको. Because कुरान में ये लिखा आता है, और ये बड़ी डरावनी सी बात है. The verse, I'll just translate it because I don't remember the Arabic. हालांकि मुझे that's part of my sabak these days, but don't tell my Qari sahab. So the verse was something like, friends on that day will be enemies to each other, except for al-muttaqeen, the righteous. All right. So if your friends are taking you away from your deen, are taking you away from your morality, are taking you away from your spirituality, then in reality, aapka nuksan hi kar rahe hain, right? So no matter how much fun you might be having with them, no matter how much you might enjoy their company, enjoy being with them, no matter how cool you think they are, they're detrimental for your well-being in terms of what really matters, which is the akhirah. So find friends who are better than you, whatever metric you make for that. I'm not going to even put any examples forth. But find friends who, when you're with them, you feel closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Find friends who you're with them, you feel that it's easier to stay away from sins, that it's easier to do good deeds. Those are the friends, truly, they will be, worthy to be called your friend. And those are the friends who truly you will value on that day when we are all presented before our Lord. So that's, I think, in my opinion, pretty much all that I had to cover. If there are any questions, I can take them now. Otherwise, I can sort of bid you adieu, and we can all be on our way. So, floor is open to questions. Oh, thank you. If I noticed this earlier, I would be happy. Sorry. Anything at all? Yeah. MIT में admission कैसे होता है? Well, the golden question that everybody wanted to ask. So, so those of you who have taken a class with me, you'll know that I use a forum called Piazza, which is an online forum which allows students to ask questions anonymously. All right. So last semester I had this kind of question on Piazza, and I said to them, that's not related to the course, so come talk to me in my office. They never showed up because the anonymity of asking on Piazza is apparently very helpful. This semester, in my first class, right after, is there anybody taking CS 100 from me right now? Yeah, so in one of your sections, I introduced Piazza to them. I told them, check it out, go online right now and see how it works. And the first comment, the first post that I got on Piazza was from an anonymous student, boy to bada chill hai. So then I had to put my foot down and write, that might be true, but that is not the use of this forum. So please. MIT में दाखिला कैसे होता है? There's a short answer to this and a long answer to this. The short answer is really Allah Ta'ala ने जहाँ Paris लिखा होता है वहाँ पहुँच जाते हो. The longer answer from a non-technical point of view is you need to have an insane GPA, you need to have insane recommendations, you need to have some sort of, ideally some sort of research experience, and you need to sort of have the luck to fit into a program where they don't have better applicants than you. All right. So that last part is the secret, really. So anything else?
Have a question?
Yeah.
If you're praying in namaz as well as you're doing parties, so is there a balance?
That's not an issue at all. Depends on your definition of party, though.
I'm talking about disco parties.
Disco parties. Again, I still don't think that's necessarily an issue. If your disco party, number one, has no music, and number two, is strictly gender segregated, then that's not an issue either. So without music, what would you do by dancing? You would just, I wouldn't even call it dancing, you'd be wiggling around, right? So if you want to wiggle under the lights of a disco ball with men only, so that's fine as far as I'm concerned. I have no issues with that. But on a more serious note, to answer his question, nobody's perfect, nobody's sin-free. Everybody has things that they're struggling with. हो सकता है आप नमाज पढ़ रहे हो और डिस्को भी कर रहे हो सकता है एक और बंदा है जो नमाज नहीं पढ़ा मगर वो डिस्को भी नहीं कर रहा, ठीक है. हो सकता है कि आप नमाज पढ़ रहे हो, आप सच बोलते हो मगर आप अपने माँ बाप के साथ बदतमीजी करते हो सकता है वो अगला बंदा जो उसने पूरी जिंदगी नमाज नहीं पढ़ी. अल्लाह ताला की रहमत की हद से बाहर नहीं है कि अल्लाह ताला उसकी वालिदैन के साथ फरमाबरदारी और मोहब्बत की वजह से उसको माफ करे. सो देयर इज मल्टीपल good deeds, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different good deeds. So don't judge yourself, number one, as better than others because you have a uniform, or because you're a ninja or you're a Maulvi or whatever. And don't judge yourself to be gaya guzara, hai main kitna gunagar hu, hai main to jahannami hu, if you don't, alright. These are the sort of metrics in society just because they're more visible, alright. There's no other reason. Just the more visible things are easier to take as metrics. So for example, I can guarantee you, I can swear on this, that there were at least 10 to 15 people in my batch in the CS department that know more computer science at that time and at this time than me. I killed them all in terms of GPA. Because of that metric being higher, people think I'm the smartest. I can guarantee you, without any sort of false modesty, that's not true. Just because that's easier to measure. Alright. Similarly, it's easier to measure who's wearing a scarf, who's wearing a hijab, who's wearing a pagdi, and who's wearing a dadi, and who's wearing a long flowing jubba. But those aren't the only metrics, really. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of other metrics that Allah Ta'ala is going to judge us by. Alright. So for a person who's, stuck in some sins, doing some good deeds as well, let me just tell you that you're amongst the 99.9999% of the population. There's very few people, almost no people, who are all bad with no good deeds, and literally no people who are all good with no bad deeds. So whatever sin you're struggling with, it's the most important thing is that you shouldn't give up hope of leaving it. जिसने हार मान ली कि मैं बच ही नहीं सकता, जिसने हार मान ली कि मैं ऐसा ही हूँ, जिसने हार मान ली कि impossible है, वो वाकई that person is a loser. That person is not going to be able to get himself out of it. The person who has hope in the mercy of his Rabb, not just for forgiving him, but for getting him out of that sin, that is the person who is eventually going to be able to leave. Alright? And that could take 10 years, that could take 20 years, that could take your whole life. 100 साल का बूढ़ा पूरे 100 साल कुफर करने के बाद, बुतों को सजदा करने के बाद एक दफा कह दे या अल्लाह मुझे माफ कर दे, मेरा रब उसको माफ कर दे. So that's the issue. That's the issue. We don't know when we're going to pass away, right? So that's why this whole sort of अभी पार्टी कर लो जब सफेद बाल हो जाएंगे, जब पोते पोतियां साथ फिर रहे होंगे ना तब थोड़ी हया कर लेंगे. So you see literally in every masjid, alhamdulillah LUMS में तो चलो नौजवान हैं सारे, मगर every masjid you see के काले बालों वाले लोग कम होते जा रहे हैं और सारे सफेद दाढ़ियों वाले सफेद बालों वाले लोग हैं. जो चलो रिटायर्ड दादा अब्बू है ना वो सारे मस्जिद आते हैं. So ठीक है, हो सकता है अल्लाह ताला आपको इतनी लंबी जिंदगी दे और हो सकता है अल्लाह ताला आपको उस वक्त तौफीक दे कि आप रियलाइज करो कि भाई अब जिंदगी कम रह गई, अब तौबा करनी चाहिए. मगर हो सकता है ना दे, हो सकता है ना दे. आप लोग खुद देखो, मेरे बैच के दो स्टूडेंट, मेरे दो बैचमेट्स ऐसे थे who one of them who sort of who suffered a brain injury and became a vegetable before his studies were over, and another one, a friend of mine, who drowned in a river in the north of Pakistan and died. So you see that all around you. You see kids passing away, you see young adults passing away, you see all sorts of diseases, horrible diseases that take people away before they reach their old age, and it's not guaranteed, and therefore you can't sort of bank on this. So when do you sort of take risks? You take risks when you don't have much to lose. In this case, you have an eternity to lose. An eternity. You can't afford to risk it. And it's not an eternity of just, neem garam pani. So it's a very, very, very difficult eternity. So there's no sense in taking that risk. कि जब बूढ़े हो जाएंगे या जब शादी हो जाएगी या जब बच्चे हो जाएंगे या जब नौकरी सेटल हो जाएगी तब तौबा कर लें. So that's why we have to live every day and every minute in a way that if our soul is taken right now, we're in a state where Allah Ta'ala is pleased with us. तौबा करनी है साथ. Just to wrap up what I was saying, कि गुनाह में फंसे होना मसला नहीं है, गुनाह पे अकड़ना मसला है, गुनाह के बारे में फख्र करना मसला है, गुनाह को बगैर झिझक से करना मसला है, गुनाह को नशर करके लोगों को बताना ये मसला है. These are problems. Being stuck in a sin of itself, नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की हदीस है, अल्लाह सुब्हानहू व तआला, हदीस कुदसी है, एक तमाम बनी आदम खताकार है, तमाम बनी आदम, हर इंसान गुनाहगार है और बेहतरीन खताकार वो है जो तौबा